Happy? All right.
Yes.
Happy? Hey monkeys, how you doing? Damien Keys here. Welcome to the hashtag Ask Damo show. And more importantly, where's my fucking presents? With me as always is Melissa. We're a bit
presentless.
It's Christmas. Come on. Where's my merch? Where's my shit for the walls? We've got all of this space still to fill, and you guys have got loads of extra merch that you accidentally ordered in the wrong sizes, and you don't know what to do with it. Well, this is what you do with it. We're like a food bank for t-shirts. Is what we
love
are.
T-shirts.
This is the question where we take the luck out of music industry and you being a musician, and we figure out strategies and how you can get exactly where you want to go. So ask questions. Last night I put something on the Facebook which was ask questions, and if your question gets read out today and answered, then you will win a social media MOT, which basically means, for the non-British people watching, it means I'm going to go through your social media and I'm going to say, this is what you're doing well, this is what you can improve, here's your strategy and your targets, off you go. So hopefully that'll help. And this needs to be said. So yesterday, one of our friends, Ben Drake, put a video up on his Facebook. He's lifted the bar again from Mr. Connor Wells. You can win a Fender guitar, acoustic guitar, and a banjo, which is very, very cool. All you've got to do is you've got to go on facebook.com/Ben Drake Music. You've got to like the page and share it. Now, this is interesting because this is something I say all the time. When people say, how do I get my stuff out there? When you do shit like this is what you do. Yes, nobody wants to give away their guitars, and you don't have to give away a guitar, but you do have to do something bigger and better than give away an album, or here's 10% off a download, which is 7 pence. Like, those things don't matter. What matters is the end consumer, someone on the other end of the computer going, oh, I'd like that, that sounds good. And therefore, is it worth me sharing this? Do I want to share it? Is it worth me sharing it to my Facebook for the chance to win a guitar? A lot of people would say, yes. He will then get in front of a lot more people and go, oh, I've heard about that, Drake. And it works because, look, we're talking about it. Every single day, I get asked by people saying, can you share my stuff? And I'm like, no, of course I can't, because think about it. I've got like 16,000 people on my Facebook. All of a sudden, everyone's going to want to just jump on board and start saying, oh, share mine, share mine, share mine. So I can't do that. But what he has done is he's done something clever that makes me want to share it, because it brings value to my audience. It brings value to the end user on my side. So if you want a chance to win a guitar or a banjo, facebook.com/Ben Drake Music. It's the Ben Drake Collective. It's this guy here. He's a lovely guy. He works very, very hard. He works with lots of singers and artists. And if you are an awesome singer-songwriter and artist, then you should hit him up, because he's always looking for new artists to collab with. With that in mind, we have questions.
Let's begin.
At least we've got questions. But merch, send your merch. I haven't had mugs for a while, and I'm still drinking out of my hashtag Ask Damo mug. I want some new mugs.
More mugs.
I need some new clothes for Christmas because I'm getting fat, because Santa's coming. So I want some clothes, I want some mugs, I want some albums. I know you've got this shit. Send it through. The links are below.
Nice. Alright, so question 1 is from Sean.
Hey Sean.
Hey Sean. So he's asked, I've been asked to do a couple of gigs for a food bank charity and a homeless one. I've agreed as I want to help, and it's obviously more exposure for me as well. Question is, will this alienate certain fans that don't agree with my participation in certain things? Should I keep my music separate to outside projects to appeal to more people?
I saw this question yesterday, and I like this question. And I like this question because I'm going to slightly change it, or I'm going to embellish on it, Sean. And the question in this instance is, Sean's been asked to do some gigs for a homeless charity and for a food bank charity, and what if people don't agree with that? Now, a lot of people will come through and say, that's a great charity. What a fantastic thing to do. It's a really good charity. However, let me just tweak this a little bit. What about Donald Trump's inauguration party, where everyone said no way, and it was Bruce Springsteen, and then it was like all of these massive artists just went, nope, not doing that, and all of a sudden the whole music industry went into shutdown of not playing Donald Trump's inauguration. And then he had a kids band which I actually saw live in Nashville, who are amazing. I can't remember the name, but they said they do it. And the backlash they got for doing it, because obviously everyone, yes, there's loads of Trump supporters, but they won't care. But lots and lots of hate. So there's that side of it with the Donald Trump. Or what if you are staunch vegans, for example, and and you're doing an event which is all about being a vegan. It's just when you're asked to do these events, what if you get asked to do something which is really going to push your career forward, but at the same time can alienate fans?
Yeah,
it's a really, really difficult one, because you want to get ahead, and but it will, depending on what the event is, it can really link to you as a person. So if you look at a band like Architects, they're all vegans and they all stand for that, and because of that, they get a lot of support because of it. And some charities were going to be fantastic. If you do a gig for, blind dogs for the blind dogs, that's the terrible thing. Guide dogs for the blind. If you do that, then you're not going to get anyone that's going to. No one's going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
But you do have to be careful. And so going back to the question, which is, it's more exposure, but will it alienate fans? I think you do have to use your. You have to use your initiative of what's going to work and what's not. But I think the big thing is to embrace stuff.
Yeah.
Do things that you believe in, and if you do believe in them, do it because you believe in it, and then go all out. And that's what I would do. So I personally, there's certain things that I wouldn't do. I think there's certain events that if they asked me to talk, I wouldn't do, and because I don't stand for them. Same thing where every so often someone does come through and ask me to promote something on the show, and I just say, it's not for me. I can't do it. You can pay me money. I'm not going to do it because it's just not. I don't believe in it. So I think we live in a time where, with music, or we are in an industry where music is so close to people's hearts. It's so important to people. And it's more than just watching a TV program and then turning off and then watching it again the next day. Music is something which really sticks with people, and so you do have to be careful with what you link with it. So I think it's a very, very good question, and in this instance, I think Food Bank Charity is a fantastic cause.
Support that,
but if you tweaked it and it was something slightly different, it could easily alienate fans, and then that could be the end of your reputation. It could be the end of your band.
Yeah.
So it is definitely something you do have to be careful of. So, but I thought it was a really good question, because I have seen bands link themselves to things, and I've gone, ooh,
it's not worth it sometimes.
And I just thought you just shouldn't have done it. You just shouldn't have done it. So I would say, if you absolutely believe in it, then it doesn't matter if other people don't believe in it, because if you absolutely believe in something and that's what you think and that's what you want, then you're doing what you believe in. It's a part of you.
Awesome. Right. So question 2 is from Matt. He says, Damo, over the last few weeks I've been emailing, messaging venues and promoters outside of my city, which is Southampton, in a bid to try and place new people, broaden our horizons and meet new bands. However, the lack of response I've been getting has been quite frustrating. How would you recommend approaching new places who don't seem too keen to take a punt on smaller bands?
Okay, the classic. We're in a band, we're in a city. How do we start branching out outside of our city? How do we start taking over the country? How do we start branching out from a city to a county, from a county to a country, and start branching out?
Take over the world.
Absolutely, take over the world. That's the whole thing. And a question that crops up with most bands at some point every meeting I have. Okay, so we have to take this back to the beginning, okay, because I'm going to reflect this on myself as opposed to this band. When I started this project, which was a year and a half ago, I said, if you want me to come and talk at any of your colleges, if you want me to come and talk at any of your events, nobody gave a shit. At all. Nobody. No one. Everyone was just like, who's that guy? And someone was, he set up the music college in Brighton, BIM. People were like, oh, okay. No, I don't really care. Now, fast forward 18 months, all of a sudden, I had one, 2 last week. I've got another one coming up this week. They're all over the place where people want me to come and talk. And half the time, I either haven't got time or I can't fit it in, or it's too far away. And whereas it was me saying, I'll come to you, I'll just come to you and do it for free. Now people actually are prepared to pay me to do it. But if you look at the process, it was starting off at the beginning. I had to create a buzz. And so when I say to someone, I will come to your event, the first thing they want to know is, what are you going to talk about? And I want some proof. Is this going to work? So going across to a band, you're in a band. When I go on people's Facebooks, I'm not seeing the great stuff. It's all in people's heads. All I'm seeing is promotion, which is come and see us at this gig. That is not, all that from a social proofing point of view is saying that you do gigs. It's just not good enough. What people want to do is they want to put themselves in the place of, if they're a promoter, of the last promoter. If they're going to a gig, they want to put themselves in the place of the person at the last gig. So your job is to show off what it is that you can bring to the party. Now, if you can't bring a load of people to a gig because you're from Southampton and you're trying to get a gig in Exeter, or you're trying to get a gig in Bristol, if you can't, then you've got to find a better way around it, which is honesty. We might not be able to bring it yet, but check out this clip from our show. We will tear that place down, and then the next time we come down, we will bring people. So you're looking at ways that you can get in, and you do have to take it back to the beginning. You do have to take it back to going and doing free gigs and paying for yourself. You do have to start looking at how you can post certain adverts or certain boosts in a different city in order to start building. Like, I know that if I wanted to go and do a talk in name me a city. Cardiff.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm from Swansea, but that's cool. No, that's
Sorry.
cool. That's all right. That's cool. So if I wanted to do a gig, a speaking gig in Cardiff, the first thing I would do is I would make a small advert before the gigs come up. I'd make a small advert, some kind of offer, or possibly if I had a gig coming up in Cardiff, this is the next step. But either way, I'd make a small video. I'd put it as what used to be called as a dark post or an unpublished post on Facebook. If you don't know how to do that, then you need to get on YouTube and figure it out. It is very, very easy. And all that means is when you put it on Facebook, not everybody sees. So you can put it on Facebook and you can just advertise it to a certain demographic. So I'd then advertise it to 10 miles around Cardiff, and I'd start trying to build engagement in that area. And every time someone came through and added a like, or every time someone came through and added a comment, then I'd be straight in there and I'd be like, hey, how you doing? Just want to say hi. And I'd start to build a conversation, and I'd try and build a conversation with 20, 30, 40 people. And I'd say, by the way, if we come to Cardiff, how would you feel about coming to a gig? And if you have to sort of pay for a few tickets, if you have to do some kind of publicity stuff like that where you're getting in, then you have to. But in doing that, then you can go back to a promoter or venue, and then you can say, we can bring people to this. But failing that, what you've got to do is you've got to prove that when you turn up at their venue, you are going to tear this place up. Because promoters run on two things. Number one, they can't lose money. They put in a whole lot of work. And, promoters, whenever you go on forums for promoters, they get a really, really hard time. And it's a really thankless task. But from their point of view, it's also a really rewarding task because they get to put on this great music night and really enjoy it and be a part of the music if they're not in a band. But bloody hell, it's really thankless. So what they're looking for is, number one, they don't want it to be a flop. They don't want it to be a failure. So in that case, how can you bring people to the party to make sure it's not going to be a failure? And then the second part of it is they want it to be an amazing night where all the people who've been invited are talking about it for the next week, saying, holy shit, that was the best gig I've ever been to. So you're kind of playing off these two things. Number one, bring people to the gig. If you can't yet figure out how you're going to start working on this, and at the same point, show on your Facebook and on your YouTube how awesome your live shows are. If you can't do that, then all this is people are looking at you because it's a supply and demand issue. Promoters are looking at you and they're going, I've got 50 bands that want to play. So it's noise. What are you going to do to cut through? So it might just be that at the moment you either aren't good enough or you're not showing off that you're good enough. So when it comes to promoters, they're exactly like all the rest of us, which is if you've got 50 things in front of you and you've got to pick one, you're going to go for the best one. So your job is to put yourself in that position of what are they looking at? And those are the two big things that they're looking at. Number one, they're looking at, are you going to bring people to the party? And number two, when the people are there, are they going to absolutely tear it up?
Yeah, just creating the buzz, isn't it?
Creating the buzz.
Yeah. Okay, so question 3 is from another Matt. This is Matt Close. He says, we like our Matts. He says, I live in St. Louis, Missouri, USA. I'm going to be visiting Chicago, Illinois to hit an open mic I was at in November. I record a live video as I do at open mics and then edit that into various content. What would be some other ways I could build on and leverage this open mic appearance in Chicago as an out-of-town musician?
I don't even know where Missouri is, but that's cool.
It's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
building the base.
He's so Matt does open mics. He's going to another city to do an open mic, and he wants to know, whilst he's there, because it's an opportunity, how can he maximise the opportunity? So definitely filming, but he's already put that. I'd be filming it. This is the same thing with bands on tour. So bands on tour, going to an open mic, it's very, very similar thing. Same thing with events. When you go, you want to have a checklist of a bunch of things that you can do for your social media to be able to build it. And so for me, what I'd be looking at is how you can utilize the power of Facebook Live or Instagram Live if that's your thing. I'd also be looking at the power of collabs. I'd be looking at who else is going to be on this open mic that I can do a collab with even on the night. So if I can find people that are going there for a couple of weeks beforehand, I can get in touch with them. I can say, are you going? Because I would love to do a track with you because I think it'd be really fun and we can record it and I can put it on my social media. I think a lot of people would say yes because that's the spirit of open mics. But you're utilising the live side to it, you're utilising some recording, you're utilising collabs. And then the other thing I would do is I would probably have a way to be able to get people to remember you. So if it's a band, I always say things like having banners down the side or a bass drum skin with your name on it. If it's an open mic, then it might be flyers, it might be business cards, but a way that you can just say, guys, it'd be amazing if you wouldn't mind coming and tagging yourself in the video that I'm going to put on my Facebook Live tonight, because that way I can keep in touch with you. And that's what I want to do. I want to keep in touch with you. So this is about opportunity. And the reason why I like this question is because what frustrates me the most is when I turn up to a band's rehearsal, when I turn up to a band's gig, or when I see a band do a radio show or they're about to do a radio show, and I think of all the amazing possibilities that can go with all of the things that they're doing, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's £1,000 worth of promotion that you've just not bothered with. As soon as you're turning up to do a gig, I'd be thinking, right, we need a photographer there, or someone who can do photos. I want a videographer there, or at least someone who can do videos. Or even if I can't afford that, I'm going to prioritize 2 people who are boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, family, whatever it is, and I'm going to say to them, you're in charge of videoing. You need to video everything, and it doesn't matter if we don't use it. Your job is just to video everything, because why would you not want to wake up the next morning after doing what an amazing gig to say, right, let's look through all our goodies, let's look through the video section, let's look through the pictures section, let's see what's on the mailing list, like all the great things that you can do. And it's a moment gone, and bands just put so much time and effort into getting the gig and turning up and doing the gig, wasted all the opportunity. People have left. The amount of gigs that I go to that I have no idea who the bands are when I've left, and I'm thinking,
Such
I don't
a shame.
even know what the band's called, because the singer didn't say a bunch of times, this is the name of the band, this is what I need you to do. That is the only message that you need to get across. This is who I am, and this is what I need you to do. And this is what I need you to do is one thing, not 10 things. If you give people 2 choices, they'll fuck it up. They won't know what to do. So if I'm at an event, I just say, my name's Damien Keys. If you're a musician or a band, you need help, you need to message me on my Facebook. My Facebook is Damien Keys. Simple as that. That's it. That's the message I want to get across. That's all I need to do. And if I can get 10, 20, 30 people from that, I've done my job. And the rest of them, I just need them to know who I am. So when I keep popping up, they go, I know who you are. That's the key message. So it's about utilizing these opportunities. And on a gig or on an open mic, there's going to be 10 really big opportunities to be able to collab and get your stuff on someone else's face. Imagine if you say, we'll do a collab, I'll film it, but I'll give you the footage. Give me your number. I'll WhatsApp you the footage and you can put it on yours. And I'll do one and I'll put it on mine. And that way, there it is. There's your collab. All of a sudden, they're 200, 300, 400 followers and you're 500 followers. All of a sudden, come together in a smooshy type orgasmic thing.
Nice. And
so it's all. So basically, it's all about opportunity. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
This is about seizing the opportunity. And anyone who's watching this, if you're a band, think to the last gig that you did, and hopefully it'll be over the last week or 2. But think of the last gig you did. Think of, did you maximize the opportunities, and what opportunities have you missed to get that message across so people are leaving knowing who you are and knowing what to do? And when they're away, will they tag themselves? Did you take another one? This is a big one. Matt, when you're at this open mic, make sure you round up all of the people who play at this open mic and you get someone to take a picture. Ideally, would be even better if you even get the crowd to come in as well. Actually stop the gig and say, this is brilliant. I've come from Missouri, I'm in Chicago, I love this is so cool. Would it be okay if I took a picture of everyone? Everyone get in. And most people will go, yeah, okay. And they'll smudge into the picture and you'll say, I need the other guys who are playing as well. And you're literally all in, and someone can take a picture and you just say, tag yourself in the picture. Because honestly, I love what I do, and it would really mean a lot, because I look back on this stuff and in 3 years' time I'll look back and I'll remember this night and I'll remember you guys. People will want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's a tiniest detail to say, picture, go tag yourself.
Yeah, and that's a good way of spreading the content then as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so final questions from Miles, and he says, how do musicians go from working full-time and change to musician how do musicians go from working full-time and changing to musician full-time?
Okay, so how do we get out of a day job?
Yeah.
Simple as that. How do we get out of a day job? I'm a musician, I work in a job, I don't like it, I want to be a musician full-time. I can definitely help with this.
Yeah.
This is like my number one speciality, because no matter what happens in my life, I'll never get a job. I'll never get a J word. I hate that. And if everything goes to pot, I remember when BIM finished for me. I remember the day I walked out of BIM and I was driving home, and I had a half an hour drive home, and I remember just thinking, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And the first thing I thought was, I'll always just be able to make a living from music. Always. So, which, luckily I didn't have to just do that. I've got other things, but I remember that thought. We have to be honest, okay? We have to be honest with what we're about to achieve, okay? The first thing, and there's probably lots of ways, and people aren't going to like this, but this is, again, going back to supply and demand. If you want to make a living full-time, then it's going to take a couple of things. Massive hard work and big sacrifice. So, you need to be gigging a lot, because you need to get really, really, really good at gigging. You got to compete with me at gigging, and I am fucking good. But not that, joking aside, you've got to compete with people who know how to get gigs. Like, I've just stopped gigging 6 months ago, but I was gigging as a hobby, just my hobby, I was gigging 130 to 140 times a year. That is a third of the entire year that I would spend on a gig somewhere around the UK as a hobby. Like, that's a lot of gigs. So you got to compete. And I'm not saying they were the biggest gigs in the world, but I was always playing because I love playing and I wanted to get out there. And it might be, you are going to have to sacrifice, because you can't say, which people do, I want to make a living at doing this, but I don't want to do covers, or I don't want to teach, or I don't want to do, I don't want to be backing someone and getting paid 50 quid for it. Tough. If you want to make a living from it, the first thing that happens is you start at the bottom and you work your way up. And wherever you are at the moment, it might be that you're already gigging with a covers band and you've just got to start expanding that. But wherever it is, you start on the bottom and work up. So let me tell you a story. When I first started, I moved away from Swansea after the record deal. I moved and I went to Guildford, and I needed to pay my way through college. And I put a duo together with a friend playing MIDI file backing tracks. It was horrific. MIDI file backing tracks with him playing guitar and singing and me playing bass. And he was the talent and I was the business side to it, as it were. But we'd go and play gigs for 30 quid. We'd play 3 hours worth of music. We didn't give a shit because we loved it. And that was the whole point, of learning and loving it. But we get paid 30 quid each. And we would do that 4 nights a week because we couldn't get paid anymore because we didn't know how. I could have said, I'm not doing it for that. I want to get paid 150, which is what some of my friends were getting paid. The problem is I didn't know how to do that. So I had to just take what I could get. Then Christmas came around, this time of year, and loads of my friends would get asked to do gigs where they'd have to dress up as Santa, they'd have to dress up as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and they'd be playing gigs as a band dressed as Santa or Rudolph.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's not. But those choices that you make, where someone goes, oh, fuck that, I'm a musician, it's my art, it's my creativity. It's those decisions that do stop you from getting paid as a full-time musician. Now, I'm not saying if you want to be, if you want to be the next Ed Sheeran, I'm not saying that you need to do that. But what we're talking about here is a different thing. How do you quit your job and just be a musician so you don't have to do anything else? And the first thing we do is we have to work harder, we have to sacrifice, and it means if we have to take gigs which are further away, we have to do that. If we have to take gigs for less money, then we have to do that. If we have to take gigs doing stuff that we don't really want to play, we have to do that. That's the way it works. But what happens with that is when you're doing it, you get better. So when I was about 20, I did a similar type band as a duo. Didn't want to go out with a drummer because it was just too much hard work. It was 3 of us. We used to get 3 or 4 gigs a week, but we used to do working men's clubs. I mean, proper, the bingo, the raffle, 6 old men smoking and drinking inside back in the day, not giving a shit about your music whilst you played Disco Inferno. I mean, that was like 3 or 4 days a week for me because I had to find a way, and I wasn't going to go work in a shop, so it was the only way I could do it. But 2 things happened. Number 1, I was gigging 4 nights a week with a drum machine, 2 to 3 hours a night. I got really good as a bass player, like insanely good, because I was practicing all day and gigging all night. So after 2, 3, 4 years of doing this, nobody could compete with me. Nobody, because nobody was prepared to do that many gigs at that quality of gigs. So therefore, I was just I'm not saying world class at the age of 20, but I was better than everyone around. I was better than everyone in the area, and if anyone needed a bass player, I was the first person, 100%, because I was the best option. And then if I wasn't free, they'd go somewhere else. And then what happened was, it started to build where I could then say, I've got so many gigs, which is great. I'm now going to start to choose. I'm not going to go crazy and say, right, from here on in, I'm not going out for less than this, or I'm not travelling as far as this. But I'm going to start to be a little bit picky with my gigs. So if something comes through for 50 quid, I might say no, because I know I can get something for 100, for example. And that's the way it grows. That's the way that your career goes. But people are trying to jump in too high and say, well, the average price for to start off as a musician should be 100 or 150 or whatever the musicians union bullshit tells you to charge. That's a nonsense. You charge what you can get. And if you can charge £1,000, then good on you. But if you can only charge 30 quid, then fine. That's just the way. That's called life. That's what it is. And there's no union in the world that can tell you what is the minimum fee for that. Because if someone in the creative field is prepared to do a gig for 20 quid and you miss out, I'm not saying it's fair and I'm not saying it's nice, but it's tough. That's just the way that it is. That's why bands gig for free, and everyone has a big issue about it, saying, well, if you gig for free, then we can't charge. It was like, I know, but they wanted the gig, so they got it. It's just life. It's just one of those things. Stop bitching about it. So the answer is, you have to lower your expectations of the work you're getting in order to be able to do 5 gigs a week. That many gigs. Then all the things that we talk about with promotion and showing people that you're out there on your social media, and it can go fast.
Yeah, it's like an upwards slope.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
And you get better and better and better, and you're meeting more and more people. And in order to do 5 gigs a week, it probably isn't going to be with one band. It's going to be with 3 bands or 4 bands. I used to get text messages from friends saying, just in case anyone needs a drummer, I'm around on Friday night. And I'd be like, oh, okay, good to know. He would be out every single night of the week. That was his full-time gig. He was just out gigging every single night. He was a good drummer. Like, he was a good drummer.
Yeah, it's the way to do it.
And people think he got all the gigs because he was a good drummer. It's like, well, yeah, but he got all the gigs because he was A, really nice guy, but B, because he put himself out there all of the time, and he found his level, and then his level grew and grew and grew and grew. So that's the answer. And it is hard work because, and before we finish, another small story was the band that I was in, and the band I played in was for me, it was a hobby. It was just a fun way of getting out and playing. And we get 100 odd gigs a year. And then one day there was a band we always had the most amount of gigs out of all the bands on the agency. And then one year we got out gigged. And I was like, right, okay, so we need to figure out, because I don't want to be second place. I want to get more gigs. So what did we do? Well, we said, do you know what? no stipulations. You need us to travel, we're going to travel further. You need us to travel further, then we're going to take down our petrol price for travel, which allows us to travel further for cheaper. We started to look at ways that we could get those gigs in because I wanted more gigs. And the thing that stops you getting more gigs is always money, because people say, well, if I'm going to travel that far, then you have to pay. I saw a band the other day saying, if you want us to go upstairs, you have to pay more money. Like, quit music. If that's you, if you've ever said that, if you've said, we play at the bottom floor, but we value our backs, so we need to go upstairs and we need to pay money. If you've ever said that, quit music. Don't do it. Go and do something else, because that is a horrible...
Never heard of that before.
That's a horrible day. Yeah, bands do say some funny things. But you take those stipulations away, and there's gigs everywhere. When people say there's no work, I'm like, how can you not see work? There's like crazy amounts of work. There's loads. It's just you don't want to do it. That's the key. There's loads there. Just build up and get to the point where people are coming to you and then saying, look, how much do you charge? And you can say, well, I know I'm going to get this fee, so that's the fee I get. But until you know you're going to get it, the fee goes down to what you have to do to get the gigs. So get 5 gigs a week, or as many gigs as you can get a week first. Do that for a while and then start worrying about the money. And if that means you've got to work, and the last part, if that means you're saying, yeah, but how do I do that because I've got to work full time and I've got to do the gigs? Yes, you do. So you might have to find a new job that allows you to do gigs in the evenings. You might have to work a morning shift, or you might have to get a job that starts at 6 in the morning and finishes at 3 in the afternoon. Yeah, you do. Yeah, sacrifice. So those are the two things, hard work and sacrifice. But I promise you 100%, it is absolutely doable. Anybody watching this who's got a job that thinks, I don't want this crappy job, you know, like, I'm not saying you're going to earn 100 grand, but if you've got a job that you don't like and you want to earn 20 or 30 grand a year for being a musician, I promise you it is absolutely doable.
And it'll pay off, yeah. Okay, cool. And we are fresh out of questions.
Hooray!
Hey.
Good. Right, if you've got any questions, I will be putting up every, what day is it? Wednesday. Every Tuesday, I'll be putting up a post on my Facebook asking for questions, and you get to win a prize. But if you have got a question, just #AskDamo, and we'll get back to you. Yeah. Good. Awesome. Have a good week and get ready for Christmas. Make sure your Christmas tree's up. Make sure you send some stuff. I'm not kidding. I need this shit. I want to promote you guys. I want to help you guys. So send some stuff. The address is below. If we've read your question, then Katie's email's below. Get in touch with Katie and just say that you've won your prize and you want to claim it, and she will sort it all out for you. Otherwise,
bye-bye.
Have a good week.